Good evening, Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, Mrs. Singh, Dr. Karan Singh, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a very special day, as you all know. It's Dr. Karan Singh's 80th birthday. Happy birthday, sir. And on his 80th birthday, what better way to celebrate than by sharing his beliefs that he has cultivated and developed and learned about in his life for over the 60 years in public service. So, without further ado, I will introduce the film right away. And afterwards, I will invite you to come to the dais, sir, both of you, and we will launch the DVD and the book. I'd like to invite Dr. Manmohan Singh and Dr. Karan Singh to come to the stage, please, and join us. In the film, I was able to show you 12 of Dr. Karan Singh's beliefs and actually visions for how we as Indians can do something in the world, can act in the world. And today, I'm very proud to say that we are launching this film as a DVD, and we'll also be showing it on Doordarshan as well, and on international television as well. We'll be taking it around the world. We're also launching a website to go with the film called IBelieveTheFilm.com. And this is the beginning of a year-long campaign that we're starting to ask the question of what do you believe? Because what Dr. Karan Singh has tried to do here in this film is put out 12 beliefs, from his spiritual beliefs to his life in politics to his feelings about the environment, poverty. And we want to ask the same question of the country, especially at this time of the country uncertain future of where we're going as a people. But here we are emerging as a superpower. So today I want to launch and I invite Dr. Manmohan Singh, please, sir, to launch the DVD. May I now invite Dr. Manmohan Singh to say a few words.
Dr. Karan Singh ji, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here to celebrate the life and work of a great son of India and a unique global citizen. I feel privileged to greet Dr. Karan Singh ji on this auspicious occasion of his 80th birthday. I join all his friends and well-wishers to wish him a long life ahead and as purposeful and active a life as the one he has led till now. Ladies and gentlemen, I can think of no other Indian who has come to represent and symbolize the ethos of our great and ancient civilization than Dr. Karan SIngh. He is a man of great learning, of great wisdom, of great liberalism, and great humanism. Dr. Karan Singh's life in public service is as rich and as it is diverse. For most of his adult life, he has been a part and parcel of the political evolution of Jammu and Kashmir. As our ambassador to the United States, he brought grace and dignity to a difficult assignment at a difficult time. In his statement, I believe, Dr. Karan Singh says, and I quote, "I believe that despite continuing animosity and hostility between nations and growing violent divisions within nations themselves, the human race will be forced by the end of this century to move towards some form of world order transcending national barriers. And although each one of us owes a deep debt to the country of our origin, as members of the human race, we also owe a wider loyalty to the plane that has nurtured our kind for millions of years." Unquote. This is a great exposition of India's quest for internationalism and humanism. In his role as a scholar and thinker, Dr. Karan Singh has combined his learning of Hindu philosophy with a deep understanding of other religions to look for what he calls the golden thread that runs through all the great spiritual traditions of the world. He has been a strong proponent of the idea of interfaith dialogue and has spoken often on this subject. Ladies and gentlemen, we live at the cusp of great changes in the world around us. As we look back, then we see a century behind us of great contradictions, a century of conflict and freedom, of great deprivation and great progress, of the assertion of individual and national identities, and of new internationalism. But as we look ahead, we see in front of us a century of great possibilities, a century in which poverty as humankind has known it can potentially be erased, a century in which every human being can hope to be literate and well-clad, a century in which all great religions can coexist and thrive in unison. I do sincerely believe that India's rejuvenation, its re-emergence and rise has an important message for the world as a whole. India's rise is not merely the rise of a poor people, newly empowered. India symbolizes the freedom of the human spirit. In India's rise, the world finds hope for humanity because it is based on the principles of coexistence, of live and let live, of individual freedom, and a solemn commitment to fundamental human rights. India is not merely an emerging market. it is an emerging idea, the idea of pluralism, liberalism, secularism, social and economic equity. Dr. Karan Singh has been a vocal and passionate advocate of India's cultural diplomacy and soft power. As the President of the Indian Council of Cultural Relations, he has been instrumental in expanding India's cultural footprints across the world. There is renewed interest in India across the world, and people are keen to know what makes India tick. I believe that India's commensurate role within the Committee of Nations should encompass a much larger element of cultural diplomacy and exchange. It is through the wisdom and vision of people like Dr. Karan Singh that we can make this happen. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to say that we have all been inspired by the life and thinking of Dr. Karan Singh. I wish him a very long life ahead so that he can continue to be a beacon of light, of learning and humanism. May his path be blessed. Thank you.
Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, Sardarni ji, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for your very generous remarks. We were recalling as we walked in that we had first met 60 years ago in the Hoshiarpur Government College when Dr. Saab was a student and I was also a student but also Sadri Riyasat. So I visited the college and remember very well, as usual, he got all the first prizes for economics. He continues to be a center of sanity, of forward-looking thinking, of liberalism around the world. Wherever he goes, he is now looked upon as an elder statesman and held in very high esteem. We mustn't be taken in too much by the criticisms that we have within our own country. That's part of the fun of democracy. In fact, the better one does abroad, the more difficult becomes the situation at home. But he has given us a very clear guideline for what the idea of India is. It's not really about individuals. Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi, they were heading this country for 32 years. Individuals come, they leave their mark and they go. But the idea of India, the idea that India stands for something more than merely a chauvinistic, backward-looking, inward-looking nationalism, which stands for something which is of global value. Vivekananda once said that India could be the guru of nations, could be, if we live up to our highest ideals. And I think that is what Dr. Saab in his speech has put before us, the vision of an emerging India, not only a global market, but a force for peace and sanity and understanding. I would like on this occasion very warmly to thank you, sir, and all my friends in the audience who have known me for so many years. I have now lived in Delhi for more than I lived in Jammu and Kashmir. 36 years in Jammu and Kashmir, 44 years in Delhi. And I have now entered that category that Pranab Babu so eloquently put before Parliament, a very senior citizen. It sounds fine to be a very senior citizen. I would like to thank all of you for your affection, for your friendship, for your love. I miss my wife deeply. You have seen her Many of you have known her. She was my companion. Her name was Yasho Rajya Lakshmi. I got all three when I married her. I got Yash, which is fame, Rajya, which is political power, and Lakshmi, which is wealth. So she was really my companion. She's not here today, but her spirit, I am sure, is hovering over us, giving us blessings. So thank you very much, Prime Minister, and thank you all very warmly for being here this evening. Namaskar.
Just a quick announcement. We have copies of the DVD of the film and the book, I Believe, outside if anybody would like to copy. Thank you.